had to play for the red closest to the top cushion because it appears that that's the only one that goes, and there's a little bit of pressure on this.
Yeah, she's just a couple of shots away from having this frame wrapped up. Position off this, onto the pink.
33.
A little stun down for the red above the black. And it should be frame over. And he's taken these supremely well.
Yes, that applause from this knowledgeable Crucible audience tells you 62 points in front, 59
39
remaining, but Ronnie O'Sullivan will not be coming back to the table because that red was a formality. So this is a good effort from Shaun Murphy, considering the disappointment that he suffered when he looked as though he was on track to really close the gap. Made a couple of uncharacteristic errors, and when he went 4 frames in arrears again, you feared for him. But the last 2 frames, he's played some excellent snooker, and he's won the session, which was imperative. Oh, that's gone the other way. We've not seen that so far. But anyway, that will be it. Ronnie concedes. Handshake. Who will sleep the better overnight? Who's to say? But Shaun Murphy has done what he had to do. Won the session, closed the gap. It's not 4 anymore, it's 2.
Yes, and that's twice within that session that he's got within 2. And I wonder what you feel. Who will be the happier? Shaun Murphy has really clawed his way back into this one, Steve.
Yes, and obviously with that final session where you never do know what's going to happen. Both players coming out, the adrenaline firing a bit more. He's put himself in touch.
What did you feel? Any clues to the way Ronnie is thinking and feeling about the game at the moment out there today, Ken?
I don't think he's performed as well. I mean, he did snatch a couple of frames. I think Shaun Murphy has had a chance in every single frame. I mean, realistically, he could have won that session 6-2, even 7-1, because he was in first in every. And the couple of frames that Ronnie did win, Shaun Murphy had let him in, missed an easy ball, and Ronnie duly stepped in and obliged. But it still hung very firmly in the balance, but it was a good performance today from Shaun Murphy. He really had to win the session, at least 5-3, to give himself a chance going into the final session tomorrow, and he's done that. He's put himself in a good position.
And in that regard, is it more like the kind of heavyweight contest that we had expected yesterday? Is this more like the sort of thing that we had thought we'd see?
Well, I think it's building up nicely. You never know the storyline of a best-of-9 match, let alone a best-of-25. But what you do know, at this level, 9-7 lead isn't that much.
No.
Players can turn around frames very quickly. Ronnie O'Sullivan and Shaun Murphy can walk out. Shaun can get off to a flyer. In the space of 20-25 minutes, it's 9-all. So Ronnie's aware of that as well, but obviously he's got the edge.
Indeed, yes, and they're coming back tomorrow afternoon to finish that one off. Now, I am hearing that it's still going, the final frame of Selby and Hendry of this session. Dennis and Neil, now what is going on here?
Well, what's going on here is, well, Mark needed 4 snookers as you left us. He got 2 of the snookers. Then he played a foul. Now he's back. He was back needing 3 snookers. He's got another one, and he's still battling away in this final frame of this session. And look at the colours, how they're situated to get snookers.
Well, yeah, but Stephen's got this red now to put it to bed, and there's been a few laughs and jokes between them. I think Stephen has got a little bit fed up, to be honest with you. I think he feels he's won the frame, and Mark's carrying on, every right to do so. And as you say, I think the reason he's done it is that those balls in the middle of the table, there's a huge shield almost he can get behind. Doesn't really want to pot this red. The last thing he would want to do, but he doesn't give up. It always reminds me of Steve Davis in that respect. He was always like that, wasn't he? He was murder when it came to getting snookers and winning frames off of you.
And I think Steve has conceded quite a few times when 4 snookers were needed against him, but Stephen meanwhile has got to be careful here that this red doesn't plant the black into the corner pocket.
I think that would just about make his day if that happened, wouldn't it, Dennis? He's not had a lot of luck in the session, has to be said. And you feel that he'll be snookered again after this.
It's amazing, and now the black has blocked that pocket slightly, so he can play the snooker knowing that he can't leave the red on. Well, we've had just about everything in this session. We had the century breaks, and Stephen Has got to make sure he hits this.
Yeah, I wonder if there's enough balls in the way here for that red. All those colours making no chance. Look at that. 2 balls in the way. Everything in the middle of the table. Swerve onto the cushion. Played slowly.
Too much.
Yeah.
Far too much stuff on it.
Foul.
And another chance to get a snooker. An amazing frame, this.
And he wants one more snooker now, would you believe? And with the black there, if he does get it, he can pot the black comfortably. So, all of a sudden, this could be a miracle frame.
And that's the snooker. He should escape from this. Off the side cushion, but the left side of the table would be easier. He looked at the right side. That was more difficult, just below the middle pocket.
Just a few shots ago when all the snookers were needed, there was a lot of laughing and joking, which has stopped for the moment, hasn't it? It's a frame that could somehow go against him.
Here was a bit of laughing and joking, even the referee joined in. There were fluking snookers against each other. But it's pretty serious, as Neil Fold said. And once again, it's so easy to get the snooker with the balls sitting as they are, but he shouldn't really miss this. 2 cushion, get out. He might even fluke a snooker back here if he makes the correct contact on the red.
I suppose you could always go around the back of this, but like you say, he should hit it. He doesn't want to miss it, for sure. Otherwise, he could easily lose a frame. Oh, can you believe it? That was always a possibility. And all of a sudden, he's not even favourite to win the frame. Unbelievable.
Well, it's quite, as we say, a remarkable frame. I think there was maybe a frame many, many years ago where John Spencer needed 5 snookers and he come back somehow and won it. But when you left us, I'd said, well, there's just no way back in this frame for Mark Selby. And here he is, favourite to take this last frame and only need 1.
I think when we were left, there might have been another frame left on to play on the other match. In the meantime, we've still had this 18 minutes since the last ball was potted. But in that time, there's been a lot of fiendishly difficult snookers to hit. And now, Mark doesn't need any, but he does need the black with this. That's the first step. So red, black, and then black to yellow. Stephen is far from amused now.
1.
And he's going to have to use the rest, but there is an angle to get back for the yellow. If he can judge it, this is the key shot. That's the angle he's looking at to get on the yellow. Not quite as far as the end of the line, but along that line somewhere. That's just about perfect.
8.
But if anything, he's just a fraction too far. I mean, it's not bad. He'd like to have been a few inches short of that because he could have just run in behind the green. I'm not sure if he's going into the blue from here. Might be just off straight. He wouldn't want to push the blue safe if he's got a cannon it. No, that's a very nice shot indeed. Well, just when you think you've seen it all at this game, Dennis, you realise that there's always something new there.
But he is one of the best in the business at knowing the angles, as Mark Selby, and he's pulled off some cracking snookers.
Yeah, I mean, it does show his resilience as a player. We know how well he's scored. He's made 6 centuries in the match, but his safety is up there as well. I mean, he's almost the complete player now.
Well, this Crucible crowd would love to see a Stephen Hendry comeback. They thought he'd won this frame, but it'll be interesting to see the applause for this remarkable win in this frame. Stephen, well, he just can't believe it. But he has seen everything there is to see in the game of snooker. But I bet he can't believe he's lost this frame.
No, I mean, he scored 76 points in this frame. This is absolutely something else. And it's his never say die attitude that has taken him there.
28. Thank you.
Well, that's a remarkable frame of snooker and a fantastic session, and certainly Mark Selby is smiling the most of the two players. They're having a chat, but have you ever seen anything like that? And Mark Selby now needs one frame in the remaining session of this match. He leads Stephen Hendry 12-4. Amazing stuff.
Well, I tell you what, these fellas in the studio here are shaking their heads in disbelief. We left that with quite a way to go. Mark Selby needing 4 snookers, then he had the foul. Goodness knows how he's manufactured that, but I just wonder how Stephen Hendry, such a proud champion, is going to react to something as crushing as that.
Well, it's the difference between winning the match and losing it in that one frame. There's a chance for Stephen Hendry all the time that, that Mark Selby only needed 2, but now he's basically mentally on his way back up to Scotland because he knows full well that he's never going to be able to come back from that deficit. But well, it's very strange. There was a little bit of luck attached because we kept an eye on it. It was loads of great snookers by Mark Selby.
Kenny?
It's just unbelievable. I mean, if the shoe had been on the other foot, Stephen Hendry would have been sort of back in the dressing room, probably on the way back to the hotel and changed and everything, showered. But Mark Selby, he never gives up. He's great at laying snookers. He knows the angles, one of the best players in the world at knowing the angles and getting snookers. And he just showed, I mean, at one stage he needed 4 snookers and got them. Then he failed and then came back, got another couple of snookers. I mean, it's just an amazing. From Stephen Hendry's point of view, you'd have to say, you feel terrible sorry. He thought he was still in the game at 11-5, but now, I mean, it's a nail in the coffin, basically.
And that is why psychologically it's such a damaging blow, because as Neil and Terry said in the commentary, whilst the other fella still needs 2 frames, you come back with a reasonable spring in your step, there's still a chance. And clearly Mark Selby's pounced on that and he's just shut the door on him, surely.
Totally. I mean, Stephen Hendry was looking at still only sharing the session 4 all. So he still probably knew really in his heart of hearts it was going to take a miracle, but this basically has just, it's the final nail. It's been banged in, and that's just the last part is just sort of finishing Stephen off tomorrow. You'll be, have a terrible night's sleep, but there again, that snooker, it's something we know it, but it's still hard to take.
Yeah, hard to take from Stephen's perspective. By contrast, what does it tell us about Mark Selby? He's fired in 6 centuries there, and the fact that he's willing to put in the effort and the graft, what do you take from that?
Well, it just goes to show how determined he is, I mean, he's a real fighter, and, a bit like John Higgins in a way, that he's never going to give up. You're going to have to play really well, and you're going to have to battle with him, and you're going to have to scrape him off the table to beat him, because, he's 11, looks like he's going to be 11-5 up. He's 48 behind with 35 on the table. He needs 4 snookers, and he still wants to play on and win the frame. That tells a lot about Mark Selby's focus.
Not just a maker of big breaks, Stevie.
No, but he has that ability, and I do think that the winner of this event is somebody who can actually play like that relentless snooker. It seems to be something that Stephen used to be able to do, and he struggles to do it now, but there are players of the likes of Mark Selby, Ding Junhui, Ronnie O'Sullivan, John Higgins, Sean Murphy. There are players who can just put frame after frame after frame on the board without feeling the pressure of then doing it for the next frame. And some players sort of 2 or 3 frames, and then it's a short burst, and that's all they can probably generate before they have to miss a few somehow.
Well, it's been an absolutely remarkable afternoon, hasn't it? We've been keeping an eye on both of the tables this afternoon, and both have generated some very interesting stories. But Steve mentioned Ding Junhui there, and Ding was underway this morning in his 2nd round match. He is, of course, the first Asian player to have won the Masters, as we saw in January. And he's up against Stuart Bingham, the Basildon player, who's actually on cloud 9 in his personal life right now, because he and his other half, Michelle, are expecting their first child. And he's actually walking on air in the practice room. I can vouch from experience, having seen him practicing last night. Well, it was actually a wonderful